Why English language has become the global language? What is the reason? In our previous classes, we have discussed that the political reasons and also some cultural reasons are responsible for making English the global language. Here you see the cultural regions. Among all the cultural regions, first come in discussion that is the First World War. And we know that in the First World War, two groups took part in the fighting, and the group where England was involved, that group defeated the other group in which the German and the other countries were involved. So German and the other countries were defeated in the First World War. And after the defeat of the First World War, the countries which were under German territories, they were handed over to the English territories. That means that the country came into the ruling of or reign of Britain or England. Just like the Middle East, Asia, the Pacific, and the English language. And when this country came under the direct government of England, English became the prominent language of this country. Previously, German language had been used in this country initially when these countries were the political colony of Germany. But after the First World War, the leadership changed to England and English became the prominent language in this country. So not only the political reasons, but here the reasons that after getting victory, England became the supreme power in this territory, and the countries, the uh, like Papua New Guinea, New Zealand, Australia, South Africa, Namibia. In this country, previously they were the colony of German, but after the First World War, German was defeated, and this country came under the leadership of Britain or England. And at that time, English started to use in these countries. But politics always will not be maintaining. Politics can establish a language as the global language. It's true. But in order to sustain the position of global language, politics always doesn't work over. Some other fields like um, cultural legacy, the technological development, the economic development, and other international affairs might play vital role to sustain English language as a global language. Okay, for the cause of colonial power. And a little bit earlier, we have learned that for the cause of the defeat, the Germany will lose its bond towards some countries, and England uh, gets bond to these countries, and as well as the English language gets connected to this language. That was the role of the politics. But after that, what will happen? Which language will be used in this country? Critics say that technological development, economic development, cultural attachment, and some international affairs and aspects and human life phenomena might play a vital role of sustaining a language in its status, international status, foreign status, or global language. But our concern is the global status. So after gaining status of global language for the cause of politics, some affairs, some issues play a vital role for sustaining its status, sustaining English language status as a global language. What are the things? We say that these are the cultural legacy, the culture or the human phenomena. In the human phenomena, if something is needed, then how this thing can be executed with the international communication. And in this respect, language play a very vital role. And which language will be the dominant language? That language will sustain its position in as a global language. English was now emerging as a medium of communication in growth areas, which would gradually shape the character of 20th century domestic and professional life. So in the 20th century, we have learned that within the middle of the 20th century, no colonies were there. Many America got independence, and many countries got independence towards the towards the second half of the 20th century. But language that play a vital role for making domestic and professional communications everywhere, because in the first half of the 20th century, the world became a very global village. The people from very parts of the world are attached to the other parts of this world for several reasons: for business, for tourism, for economic development, for politics, for cultural development, many reasons that the people from one part of the world goes to other part of the world and they started living. And for this reason, when a country, when a people move from Bangladesh and will be going to America and will be starting living over there for the cause of the domestic purpose, for the cause of the professional purposes, he or she has to communicate in a language. And what is the language? That's the English. That English played that vital role, and that thing we are calling that is the international relation. A language is relation. A language is necessary for the verbal communications. First thing first, in that international communications, that we have noticed that several international organizations has been established at the early 20th century. And you can give an example of that, the United Nations. But United Nations, when it was initiated in 1920, the name was not the United Nations. The name was the League of Nations. And there were 42 members were there at the time of League of Nations in 22. And you know the history that after the First World War, all the countries got united and they established a league or an international body just to mitigate the problems among the countries. And that nations and that body was called the League of Nations. And that League of Nations was transferred to International United Nations in 1945. I am speaking at the initial stage of League of Nations. That was a necessity of forming an international body to mitigate the problems among the countries so that the world might not see another world war. And in that League of Nations, two languages has been used as the official language, one English and another one the French. And at that time, I have said that the member of League of Nations was 42. Okay. The importance of the lingua franca with such an extended membership was obvious. So 42 member countries were there, but only two languages, so French and English. So it is necessary to have a common language to communicate among the 42 member countries of League of Nations that established in 1922. What was the scenario? And in 1945, the League of Nations was established, and at that time, the member country was 50 country and organization. The number was developed in 57, most probably at that time in 1995. So also there was a necessity of having a common language to communicate among these different countries. But next time, the language goes to 5 languages. In 1922, there were 2 official languages of League of Nations. In 1945, there were 5 languages are used in the United Nations as the official language of United Nations. But what will be happen? At present, you will see that nearer in United Nations, you will see 50 different organizations. just like World Health Organization, Economic Organization, World Finance Organization, international standing committees. Many committees are now have been working under the leadership of the United Nations. But how many languages are there? Still, the language number are five. So how it is possible to have proper communications to these member countries? Nearly 212 countries are the members of United Nations, or 203 members are of United Nations. So how it is possible? So there is a necessity of, so initially when there were two languages had been used in international as the official language of the League of Nations, all the documents were published in two languages. And even when the five languages have been the official language of the United Nations, any proceedings of the United Nations, very fantastically, if you purchase a medicine from Bangladesh, you will see rules and regulations. What are the ingredients? How to use this medicine? You will see that the instruction has been written in two languages, one Bengali and one English. Because in Bangladesh, the people know these two languages. That is one English and another Bengali. So when a United Nations prescription is published for the better communication, then that prescription, then suggestion is being published and translated in five languages, five official languages of United Nations. So that is the English is one of them. So there is a necessity of having common language among the people all over the world. So, however, there are some other organizations. There you will see that other language like French, German can't play vital role. That is Association of Southeast Asian Nations, the Commonwealth, the Council of Europe, the European Union, and the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. So the organization based on Europe, they might recognize French or German, but the South Asian countries, they might not recognize French or German language. So in such kind of organization, English language is must for making effective communications among the member states. And again, the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Agency, English is the only official language for communication because they don't know other language to communicate to the world community. So the scope has been narrowed down towards the English language. The international body, most of them, as we have perceived the early situation, that 1/3 of the world population, even it might be 50% of the world population, know English language. And especially the people living in the Southeast Asia or the Asian continent, they do not know French, German, Spanish. So they know English language and their regional language. So in that case, English becomes the vital role for communication in organization of export countries, Southeast Asian regions, nations like that. So English in such a way has been used in different international organizations and platforms that make English official language must in many organizations. The extent to which English is used in this way is often not appreciated. In 1995 to 6, there was about 12,500 international organizations in the world. Oh my gosh. And among that, a third of the list, they use English as the official language status, third of this. And a sample of 500 of these taken from the beginning to the of the alphabet showed that 80% made official use English. So 80% of this. So out of this, 12,500 international body. The first 500 out of the first 500 organization, that means this 500 was taken alphabetically. And out of this 500, 85% organization use English as their official language. So this is the scenario at present, and that scenario and that the ratio and the data has been taken in 1995 to 1996. And 30 other languages, French was only the language to show up strongly within 49% using it officially. So that is the scenario of French language. But once upon a time, French language was the dominant language. 30 other languages also attracted official status, but only Arabic, Spanish, German achieved over 10% of recognition. So in international organization, we can assume that more than 85% organization use English as the official language, and Arabic, Spanish, and German. These three languages is used in international organization, but their percentage is more than 10%. But other languages percentages is below 10%. That is the scenario of world language all over the world. So English, only English to carry on their affairs. That is one part. The reliance is especially noticeable in Asia and the Pacific, where about 90% of the international bodies carry on their proceedings entirely in English, as I have perceived, as we have mentioned earlier, that in case of Asia and the Pacific Ocean, they know their regional language and also they know their the English language. So the organization established in Asia Pacific Ocean, actually they entirely use English language 90% cases as their official language. And that just for an example, many scientific organizations such as African Association of Scientific Editors, the Cairo Demographic Center, Baltic Marine Biologists are also English only. So this kind of organization, they only use English language as the international communication. By contrast, only a small number of international body, 13%, make no official use of English at all. Most of these are French organizations dealing chiefly with francophone concerns. So 30%, that means the French organization, they use French as their official language. Apart from this, other sports organizations, these are the international body based on the politics and other sports organizations like African Hockey Federation, the Asian Amateur Athletic Association, the Association of Oceanian National Olympic Committee. And when these organizations hold international competition, the language automatically becomes the lingua franca, that is the English becomes the only language of this organization, sports organization. And also some other organization, that is All African Peoples Organization, Architects Regional Council, Asia, and the Asian Buddhist Conference. They also use English as their official language. So political organization, economic organization, sports organization, and also some other religious organization, they also use English as the lingua franca. So we have mentioned that politics can establish English as the global status, but some other things are necessary to sustain its position. That is the international organization that we have mentioned it now. So we see that In the encyclopedia, the yearbook names begin with euro. Out of simple of 1,000 of these, 44 official working language they used. Almost all used English as an official language to 435, a remarkable 99%. French used by 36%, and that is English, French, German was the most popular European combination. So here we see the, in case of Europe, where other languages are prominent like French and German, here we see the combination that the people, one people might know either English or German or French. So these are the three languages combination we find in Europe. Some other organization in Europe, naturally, the Academy of Anesthesiology, the European Academy of Facial Surgery use only English. Apart from this, this is the European organization. And in this European organization, based on science organization, they use English. And the Cancer Research, Association of Cancer Research, and the European Association of Fish Pathology. So these organizations are based on Europe. However, English is the only language in this country. As we have mentioned, in case of Asia Pacific organization, 90% cases they use English. Even in Europe organization, that means the organization we find in Europe, in many cases based on science, they use English as their common language for communication. Still, the presence of French and German language. And other bodies like European Ear Law Association, European Bridge League, and the European Aluminium Association. In the cases, they also use English as their more prominent language for international communications. So apart from this, we see some other bodies of international organization. They use English as the common language. Just for an example, Afro-Asian Rural Construction Organization has 3 official languages: English, Arabic, and French. So this is a combination because the organization is Afro-Asian. Asian, some people speak Arabic, and African people speak French or English. So there is a combination. So it's a peculiar kind of organization. And here 3 languages are used. Europage, which unites the Europage's publishers of the European Union, lists Dutch, English, and French, German, Italian, Spanish as the official language, but adds that only English is to be used for correspondence. So in that Europage, that is the Europage's publishers, they use the combination of 6 languages. However, in case of international communication, they use English. So in these 2 organizations, we see that 3 languages, it's a 3 language communication, Afro-Asian Rural Organization, and it's a 6 language organization. However, one thing you have noticed that English is common. In both groups, you see that English is common. And in case of the second one, as you see that Europage, that English is the language whenever they will be talking to the international community, though they have other languages in their disposal. So this is the scenario of international organization where English is used. Some other organization, the German Auto Anatomical Association, Anatomicide, German and English. The Arab Air Carriers Association organization, Arabic and English. So the Arab-based, the Arabic language-based countries, they use 2 languages, that is Arabic and English. The German-based language, they use German and English. So in every group, one language is common, that is English. Why? Why it's happened? Because the presence, that is the person, they either know the regional language or they might know the English language. A different kind of role of English is concerned at meetings where a large number of nations each has a right to participate using its own, own languages. So English, uh, suppose in an international organization, there might be 20 or 100 countries. So in that cases, they might communicate in English language because English is common. The European Union is the most complex example, where already by 1996, the 15 member states were presenting a situation, and in which over 100 pairs of language required translation and interpreting services: French English, French German, French Finnish. So these are the language combination in case of the European Union. So it is impossible to find. So yeah, a person can mitigate that position by the way of translation. So in such a large body of international member countries, translation can play a vital role. However, it is always not possible to find a proper translator of the language in which you want to have your papers. So the situation has become increasingly serious as more members join the union and will eventually require a radical overhaul, and they will be dealing with a single language for communication, that is a global lingua franca. So one person would translate, so in that case, one person would translate Finnish to English and another translate from English to Greek. So because a person is not available who can translate a language from Finnish to Greek. So at first Finnish to English and English to Greek. In this regard, you might notice that English translator is available. It also means that English knowing people is larger than the other knowing other languages learning or learned people in the world. So this is the scenario. In 1995, 42% of the European Union citizens claim to be able to converse in English. So when it is the scenario, so the people learn English to have international communications. So in international politics, operates at several levels in many different ways, but the presence of English is usually not far away. So we see that a language become an international language for the base of political reason. But apart from that criteria that a language will be internet global language, next time some other thing is necessary to sustain its position, as we have told it earlier, that many organizations, many international organizations, they use English language as their official language. And in some cases of European organization, they use some other language, but English is common in every case. So that is the way that for the cause of using international language in international organization, English has been sustained as is its status as a global language. So thank you.
Sir, may I ask one question?